Today I want to talk about the Sculpey liquid bakeable clays. And right here I have black, pearl, silver, and gold in front of me. I also have white and clear, which I'm going to use for some fun things. The best thing about them is that they have some body to them. They're not just super liquidy. So if you want them to stay put, they will. You can make little beads with them. You can draw lines with it. So if you wanted to do like a henna type pattern, you definitely could. And then if you wanted to use a brush with them to put them in a certain area, you can use a dedicated paintbrush, which here's my gold dedicated brush that I would use if I wanted to spread it out or paint it onto an object or put it in a certain spot on my polymer clay. So you can do a lot with these. They're very versatile, and there's so many different reasons why you might want to try using them. So let me talk about a couple of those. Here's a fun idea. So I have this mermaid tail mold and a fish scale mat. This mat is a little too mushy to make a really good impression on regular clay. However, it makes a really nice fish scale when you use liquid clay. So I made a little blob of it with silver and baked it right on the mat, peeled it off and cut it to fit inside the tail area here. And then I laid down a bed of gold liquid clay and I pressed that piece of fish scale on top of it, and I put down some of the wasabi colored clay to make the tail. And on top of the wasabi clay, I used some gold liquid clay and just brushed it in. And then I used some large flake glitter pieces and finally topped it all off with a coating of the clear liquid. So you can layer it and use it for all different kinds of things. It's really fun stuff. For this bracelet, I used a fish scale cane and made some fun little fish scales. And I laid them in a bed of my gold Sculpey liquid bakeable clay. And then I added some large flake glass glitter in a silver and gold mix all along there. And I will probably use some clear to embed them and make everything look kind of wet. But the gold worked really well in this antique gold, and this is hot because I just baked it. But it was an antique gold bracelet blank that had little cups in it. So the gold Sculpey matches that color really nicely and will help you to stick your other polymer clay pieces down inside the metal so that they won't fall back out. These are out of the oven now, and these are of course ready for the application of more clay, which I will probably use regular polymer clay to create a veneer or a decoration on here, and because that's there, it'll stick really well, and then I can bake them again. Here, I had an unanticipated result. So if you look in here, you can see there's a little bubble, and it kind of looks like the liquid clay actually got somehow under. I don't really know what happened. I'm confused. I think there was like a little air pocket in the clay underneath, and it's reflected in this outer, in the clay here. It's actually bubbled up. So I will have to play with that and see if there's anything I can do about it. But here you can see it's sort of a sheen, not really matte, but not really glossy. Okay, and with this one, my intention is to build it up into a gloss. And we have some gloss happening, but I'm going to put another layer, put it back in the oven, and right when it comes out of the oven, I'm going to hit it with my heat gun. And that looks like this. And that will make it go completely glossy. Right while it's still hot is the best time to do that. Okay, and then here we have these molded pieces. So when we unmold this one, you're going to see that the powdered pigments are on the back, and the liquid clay piece remains really nice and flexible, which is nice about the Sculpey, because with Kato clay, that's not how it is. It can be kind of brittle at this stage, but with the liquid Sculpey, I'm really pleased with how bendable this is, which means I could embed it in something else and get a really fun piece. So that is how it looks when you put something on the back. And here, this one's how it looks when you coat the inside of your silicone mold with the powder. So you get two completely different looks. This one's kind of translucent with something on the back, and this one actually picked up the mica particles and is decorated and kind of feels like the whole thing is that color. Light will still pass through it, but you've got color on the front that comes directly from that powder. It's pretty neat. Now for this one, I'm going to grab my silver liquid Sculpey, and I'm going to place this back into the mold just for support because it is going to be baked again. So I'm just going to put this back in here, and I'm going to paint a thin layer of this on the back of this piece to really show you the multiple ways that you can use your liquid clay. So this will go back in the oven for another baking. And here is that molded piece that we put back in for a second baking with the silver on the back. So now you can see that it's got a sort of reflective quality, and it's not, it is see-through. And if you wanted to, you could hit it with the heat gun and make it look like glass, which why don't we try that? I'll just do it on the back of here. It's still warm. Okay, so here's one thing that you do have to watch for and be careful of when you're doing this is scorching. Okay, so now we've got a more glass-like finish, but there are a couple areas where it got a little too hot. So the lesson here is you've got to be careful. See right there? That's really beautiful. I can see all the way into the piece. But these thin areas that were sticking up because of the molded part, they got a little scorched. So I can try again. You could probably slice them off if you had an X-Acto blade and wanted to try to save the piece. But that is definitely a real threat when you're using your heat gun. So you have to learn your clay and be just really careful and keep it moving. And I think the problem here is that these little molded parts stick up pretty far, so they just got a little too much heat. But right here is where I really like how that looks. Right in there where it's very glass-like. This is another piece. This is a piece of Magic Transfer Paper Image on pearl clay and just cut out with a cutter and made into a little pendant. But you can see the shiny finish on there. That was just a thin coating of the clear liquid clay baked and then brightened up with my heat gun. So it works really nice as that final coating, especially if you want to protect or seal something like an image transfer. And then it also works nicely as a matte finish. This is the one with the bubble, so I'll be starting over on this one, but next time probably trying to make sure that I don't have any air underneath the liquid clay. So as a coating, as a glassy, raised up dome-like finish, it works really nicely. As a bonder, as a detailer, as a way to back a piece that's going to be clear so that it's reflective on the front. There are so many things you can do with it. I hope you enjoyed this little experience with the Sculpey liquid clays and that you'll get some and try them out.